So for me, it is a celebration of really all the accomplishments, all the work that people before us have done. And it's also a remembrance for like people that maybe we have lost along the way, the struggles that people have gone through. Trying to honor people's memories is really important to me. I'm also a historian, so that's something that kind of is in line with what I like to study as well, and in my research. But it's everything. It's everything Black culture. It's music, it's dancing, it's the scholarly work that we do. It's everything that we've contributed to this country, especially because Black folks have built this country.
It means a celebration of a part of our history that is still widely enough untapped. So Black History Month to me means learning African American history, the parts that most people commonly either don't know or new things that just haven't been discovered.
Well, to me, it means a time to celebrate and, recognize all the achievements that have happened, and also use it for inspiration to hopefully continue to do better also in the future. It's cool that, all the achievements that Black people and people of color get, kind of pushed to the spotlight for February. And, sometimes, just because it's a single month, but it's really pushed forward. Hopefully that inspires them to continue to want to learn more stuff after February. And so
it means that for once in America, everyone on the same note, coming together and trying to recognize things that should have been done correctly. I do like the celebrations and everything, but the awareness of, okay, some things have been done wrong, let's try to get it back right. I think around this time, everybody kind of clicks together on that. So that's what it means to me.
Well, it means it's kind of like, there's many ways to say this, but sometimes it feels like it's a slap in the face. Because American history is Black history, world history is Black history, and to try to boil it down into a month where, whenever I was in school, I didn't learn shit beyond what was deemed necessary or deemed, I don't know who, somebody said, this is acceptable to learn about Black history. No, I didn't learn about the Tulsa Massacre in Oklahoma history, and it's like, that's American history. So Black history, it's like, to me, it seems kind of like a farce. Yeah, it's cool, but it's like for 1 month, it's like, oh, if you're a Black artist or a Black business, you better get your money this month, because of the rest of the year, you might be in the fucking red. And it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. Yeah, it's cool to highlight something, but if like the truth was taught from the beginning and history was taught as it should have been taught, then we might not be having this conversation about this month. It would just be like, how do you feel about history? I'm like, well, let me tell you about it. But I mean, it's cool. I can boil it down, I guess it's cool. But yeah, mixed emotions on this one, man. Very mixed emotions.
I mean, celebrating the history, the history they try to forget about our heroes, Black heroes. You know what I mean? Our accomplishments, because we've come a long way as a people, and we've made a lot of strides as people, and that needs to be celebrated. So it should be celebrated every day. But whatever, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love just the celebration of Black excellence. Like, I love just coming together as a Black community and just realizing how far we have came as a society, just with uplifting each other, loving each other, like Black love, Black power, all of the things.
Yeah, really. But for me personally, it's just a time to reflect and kind of be proud of, achievements from, ancestors, seeing cool inventions being made, all, being able to kind of go back and trace and see like all the struggles and the, tribulations that, they had to go through to where we are today, even though, there's still probably a long way to go with that as well too. But, it's kind of nice to be able to take stock, you have that time to take stock and be like, oh yeah, there's some really cool stuff that did happen and you can be really proud of that. So that's just kind of what inspires me about that month and why I enjoy it so much.
But it's really, I really try to focus on positivity now, because we've seen so much, especially in like media, of like Black trauma and things like that. So it's really cool to be able to kind of pull away from that and try to focus on more positive things that have happened in Black culture and history, because it's also very inspiring for me as well. But it means a lot of things, yeah.
It just shouldn't be as like, oh, if you want to learn something, you just learn it in general. It's like, oh, this person was in this month. It's like, it's just because it's February doesn't mean you have to learn about Black people, or Black people need to be talked about. It's 365. That's just what I always say, is like Black History Month is every day. It's like, it's Black history for me. Every day I do something is Black history. I'm not going to toot my own horn and talk about something I did, but it's just, yeah, it's crazy. It's fucking crazy.
Things like I think it's really important that Black creatives get a huge light shined on them during this month, because not just this month, but every month. But I think that utilizing this month to really push that is my biggest goal. You know what I mean? Like, I love what I do with my improv troupe. Actually, is we just started a troupe called POC4, and so it's me and my friends Kel, Kendon, and Rory, and it's a show based on just a Black comedy. So we had our February show last night for Black History Month, and it just went so amazing. And just getting the feedback that we do, I don't know, it's just almost like undescribable.
The history of Black folks started as enslaved people. The fuck kind of shit is that? It's and I was thinking back hard and long and hard. I was like, yeah, didn't hear shit about Black folks before America's conception, but like learning in this country, the indoctrination. I didn't hear anything about Black people before slavery, and so that's wild to me. So when it's like to have a Black History Month, yeah, sure, we came a long way, but there is not any real history being taught. So Black History Month is like, sure, there's some truth with a lot of lies. It's like something, it's like, what? Oh, it's like a placebo pill. Yeah, it's like, okay, let's pacify you by giving you a little carrot. So now you shut the fuck up and complaining about equality. Because I don't know if you know this, so there's this writer, Asada. I think she's Latin and Black. But anyway, she's at one point, #1 woman on the FBI's most wanted list. So I'm listening to her autobiography right now, and they're in America. They're from America, Black, and they're segregation. They were trying to go to this theme park, and they were like, "You can't come here because you're Black." And then so her mom started speaking Spanish, and then like all the white men, they met up and they were talking. And it was like, "Okay, you can come in." And then that's when Asada, she was a little girl at the time, she's all, oh, so you can be an immigrant and get more rights than a Black American. Yeah, and it's like, it's that right there, that line, I listened to it 2 days ago. I'm like, ain't that some shit? And so it's like, Black History Month, huh? Oh, there's more to say.
I think it's just a really big thing to understand everything that you love has came from Black culture. You know what I mean? Like everything that you see, everything that you love, everything that you recognize, like through the community of music, like poetry, all of it has derived from Black people. And I love using February as a month to really, really explain that to people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's, you know.
Celebration.
The celebration of blackness is what it is. Yeah, cut everything and just say it's a celebration of blackness. Being black, y'all. I'm blacker than black because I'm black, y'all. Anyways, continue.
It's hard to say because I am biracial, and so I live in a biracial household, and my parents treat Black History Month just like any other month, so we don't really have any traditions. But I typically, what I will do on Black History Month is I will do exactly what I said I did. You know, look up some history that I may not know about, look up some names that get mentioned throughout Black History Month and learn about that. Learn about histories of Africa, you know, beyond the Egyptian kingdom, things of that nature. Learn about the Congo, Rwanda, South Africa, and all of its rich history, things of that nature.
I would say like I have like specific things I do for like specifically February, but things I try to do like throughout the year. You know, like make sure I'm trying to support Black-owned businesses, and you know, trying new restaurants, and trying to find, you know, different Black artists, things like that that, you know, need support in February, but also need support like all year. So
so this year, I've really been trying to incorporate Black culture into my research. So I am currently researching Afro-Brazilians and African-based religions. And so everything I'm researching is kind of in line with what's really important to me in my personal life as well. And it's very exciting and it's different, but it's also a way for me to bridge like across countries, because I'm so used to growing up and learning about Black culture in the States. And so it's neat to be able to look outside of our country and into Brazil's history, which is similar but very different in a lot of ways too, with like the slave culture that they've had. And just kind of find those similarities with people that I've never met in a whole different culture, and just kind of celebrate Blackness and all of its manifestations.
I don't have any traditions other than being Black, and and really I try to benefit from it by, you know, if say I get caught stealing a pack of gum, you know what I mean, during the month of February, I can say it's Black History Month. You owe me this. You know what I'm saying? And you owe me this Red Bull that's in my back pocket. No, I usually like to put something on Instagram that reminds me or that gives me a good feeling about Black history, whether it's a picture of Huey Newton sitting in the big prominent chair, or a beautiful Black couple embracing each other, or a mother doing her baby's hair, you know, and the baby doing her little doll's hair, you know what I mean? Just something to just show, you know, the beauty in Blackness, because everybody knows there's beauty in Blackness.
Ooh, okay. So I'll revert back to my last answer, but we've been doing a lot of different comedy stuff that is Black focused, which I think is really cool because I am a comic. So getting to take a different approach to things, and like, I don't know, like during my sets, I really like to talk about like my roots, and just like, I love to relate to people who get it, you know what I mean? Who get it, and even the people who don't get it. they find the funny in it, you know? So like,
I haven't done anything this year to celebrate too grand and big, but I definitely make sure to emphasize during February just the importance of the accomplishments of Black Americans, Black people all over really, and just let the kids know around me, mine and other people's, that, you know, if you don't look for it, it can sometimes be covered up. And sometimes you gotta scrape back and get to the good information, because it's out there, and unrecognized people that haven't really been talked about. I try to expand more on them with people just to make it easier to understand. You don't have to know just the fabulous five to know Black history.
I think I should go take a shit on a police station. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. No, I don't celebrate Black history. It's like, so I will say I celebrate my ancestors and my family, but that's daily. So another book is like, the way I celebrate is by being better every day. And I feel that's something every person can do. But no, in short, no. Juneteenth, if you ask me that, hell yeah, I celebrate Juneteenth.
Yeah.
But Black History, Black History Month, not a celebration. Because how can you still celebrate when, like, there's gerrymandering going around, there's still fucked up water, and a lot of cities that don't just affect Black folks, but like, let's say Jackson, Mississippi, their water's fucked as flints, but, and as Jackson, Mississippi is mostly Black, and yeah, it's fucked. So it's like, can I be happy when there's people who look like me being railroaded? Fuck no. I mean, yeah, I'm happy to be alive, but I don't know. I'm sure it's like there's some way I could verbalize this better. Yeah, I'm like, it's happy to look for those who came before me and like learn from them and like pay my respects, but again, not just in February. But I don't know.
As far as traditions go, I'll be quite honest, I don't really have any traditions that I kind of grew up with. But that's something that I want to incorporate more. So I'm really, really into Black creativity. And so I would love to be able to do things that celebrate more like Black musicians, Black artists, Black makers, kind of across the board. And so really just trying to connect more in the creative aspect, I think would be cool. Right now I'm so stuck in school. My brain's really in there, so it's a lot of the scholarly focus. But I am excited to really branch out and just kind of see how unique we all are.
That's also cool. I've been trying, I have a son who is in kindergarten now, so he's trying to get more curious about things now. So they have these cool, like, kind of children's books and, you know, by Black authors that tell stories kind of from the, you know, Black point of view, which is nice, which when I was a kid, we didn't really have those kind of things, you know, so it's kind of nice to have kind of share a tradition with him of getting a new one, like either like every few months or every month to, you know, share that with him. So that's been really nice. But other than that, you know, just keep trying to, you know, support and, you know, make donations to different organizations. Just try to make that a norm instead of it making it be like a special, you know, oh, I didn't do that, you know, this month, you know, just try to make that more normal into my lifestyle rather than it being, you know, feeling like I'm doing something special, you know, just regular part of life.
So I don't know, I just really like to sit and like talk with them and ask them. Like last night we did, we usually do like a fake Black fact at the beginning of our show, just something to like lighten up the mood, like have like a little, like poke a little fun with. But instead for this month, we did like real Black facts. So each of us took the stage and did a different kind of Black fact. And my favorite person to talk about during Black History Month is Henrietta Lacks. And I don't know if you're familiar who Henrietta Lacks is, but basically she was a poor woman in the 1950s, and she was diagnosed with cervical cancer. She went to the only hospital at the time that would treat poor Black people, and they took a clump of her cells without asking her, and they studied them. But the thing about her cells is that usually like the average human cell only lasts outside of the body for like 24 hours and then it dies. Henrietta's, it didn't die. It just kept multiplying and multiplying and multiplying at such a rapid rate that they started to be able to test on her cells the effects of viruses and different drugs, so that they created the polio vaccine from it. We created the COVID vaccine from it, and her cells are still multiplying to this day. She is on paper, she's literally a superhuman. Like, she had immortal cells, and just knowing that the only evidence we have that's like such superhuman like is from a poor Black woman is amazing to me. And so like, I will always celebrate her. I will always talk about her. Like last Juneteenth, I wore a shirt that said ask me about Henrietta Lacks. Like, so yeah, that's my favorite thing, is to come together, share different kind of stories, different kind of struggles, and also just share a bright side of Black culture that people don't shine a light on as much. Like, I know, like, we always talk about how horrible Black people are treated, which we should talk about that 365 days a year. Yes. Let's also talk about just how there was also like a superhuman the first superhuman that we know to this day in real life was a Black woman. And that's just amazing to me.
I would definitely have to go with number one, Nina Simone, because she's a truth teller and her music is true, and that's kind of where I resound with truth. So anybody that's speaking the truth kind of hits with me. So for music, it would be Nina Simone. For comedy, it would be more of Monique, I love her, and Wanda Sykes. Just truth tellers, I can dig that.
As a kid that grew up obviously being different, you know what I mean? I thought different. My friends were different. I saw differences in people that made me, that attracted me to them. You know what I'm saying? So every friend group that I have has a different type of person. You know what I'm saying? But Dennis Rodman was one of the Black men that I looked up to, because he was one of the first Black men that I got to see be different and be embraced for being different. You know what I mean? That's so Dennis Rodman has always been one of my favorite people and one of my heroes, kind of one of the unsung heroes in sports, because he just lived his life differently. And we're already, as Black men, looked at as something. You know what I'm saying? But for him to embrace who he was on an open stage, especially in the 90s and the early 2000s, when the internet wasn't as big, and you still knew who he was, because he was proud. You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, first one that came to mind, I was obsessed with Lil Wayne as a kid, and I was also obsessed with Kanye West before his breakdown and everything. They inspired me to be different, but be proud of who I am as a Black artist. And they were big inspirations a long time ago. Even before I picked up an instrument, I wanted to be just like them. I wanted to be able to weave words the way they could and create the sounds that they could. And it was a good time.
Yes, so right now I'm incredibly inspired by the work of Audre Lorde. If you're unfamiliar with her, she was a Black lesbian feminist, so many things with intersectionality, writer, poet, activist, philosopher. I'm sure I'm missing some things. A spoken artist as well, or verbal, I don't know how to call it. A spoken artist. But her work focused a lot on intersectionality, being a Black lesbian woman growing up during the civil rights era as well. She faced a lot of adversities and felt otherized in so many different ways, because you can be part of the civil rights movement, but it might not be very accepting of your identity as like a queer person. And so that was something that she focused on so much. And so I did not grow up learning about Audre Lorde. She's somebody that I've learned about as an adult. And her work has been super influential for me because she speaks a lot about African-based religions, like Orisha worship, which is, if you're unfamiliar with that, Orishas are deities, kind of spirits. They can also be our ancestors too, and they're worshipped in different ways across different religions. But it also feeds into what I'm studying in school. So I'm studying African-based religions, and her poetry references it quite a bit. And so I have not had time to make more visual art, but I have been working on poetry more. And so because I'm in this like writing phase right now, my brain's really attuned to that. And so I'm really trying to express my creativity in different ways. And I have not written poetry since I was a little kid. So this is really exciting for me. I have not shared any of my poetry. It's it's somewhere else right now. It's something that I'm still working on and tweaking, and I want to absorb more before I feel comfortable sharing my own.
Okay, so if with comedy, we'll have to go back to Chappelle. I remember watching him when I was younger, even some Richard Pryor. Flip Wilson, actually. If you know who Flip Wilson is, old-ass variety. I remember seeing him in his suit when I was like a wee little lad. I'm like, oh, this looks cool, and I never forgot it. And then my dad used to always like, he would quote some comedy shit, and he's pretty funny himself, but it's just like those things kind of stuck. And then it's like, but that's mostly for comedy. And like, let's see who else. Chris Rock, Bigger, Bigger, Blacker, Bolder, or something like that one. That one was good, but now artists, I can't remember. This is gonna be of like the visual artists. I can never really remember their names. I know there's this one lady in the Broad out in Los Angeles. She has this huge painting, and I followed her work. She does these huge ass pieces of work. She made a sphinx, like a sphinx with the traditional black face out of sugar in a big ass warehouse. It is fucking dope. I have a book of black artists at home. I should have brought it. And then there's some black film photographers who I bought their photo books. Like I do a lot of photography, film photography too. So it's now some of the most influential will probably be some hip hop artists to me. So Yasin Bey used to be known as the Mighty Mos Def. He just kind of raps his lyrics, the songs that speak to me are more about real shit. One of my favorite songs is New World Water. And he's rapping about water, just in general water. And it's like, you need this shit, it's fucked up, and they're continuously fucking it up. And so it's like, and now he just gets online and he gives all these speeches and he talks. And like, he's a very well-spoken individual, and he has a lot of insight because he's traveled the world with hip-hop, and he just has these insights that he's not one who chased money. He was in it about the art, and then to me it seems like the freedom, and that's what I'm always about, being free.
So one woman I've been obsessed with for this past year, her name is Dolce Salone, and she's a comic. She's a New York-based comic, and she's just this beautiful black woman, and she'll talk about just different struggles that she had as a kid or growing up, or different struggles that she had in New York. But what I like about her is that she's also a singer, so she'll cut away from her act and then do like a sing bit, and then keep going, and it'll all just flow so beautifully. And she's so talented. It just blows my mind each time that I watch her. And I think that she also has this unique type of comedy that you don't see often, which I think is like, it's very inspirational. So I'm obsessed with her.
I mean, like, there's so many. I could go on forever. Like big people, like well-known people, like Prince, Jimi Hendrix, I can go on, like Daru Jones, it can go on and on forever. But then also people that are in our scene as well, like like JB, LTZ, Monet. Like I go to their shows and I get so inspired by them, you know. So that's like I said, big and small, pretty much everywhere. But like personally, like a lot of stuff I do, I'm inspired by my family. I feel like they were like kind of my first influence on things, like from early age. Like my mom and my grandma, they were just like big fans of music. They didn't really play anything themselves, but you know, there's always music in my house all the time. So you know, they didn't have any restrictions. We listened to blues, country, rock, rap. So I like kind of credit that to them for inspiring me to like want to create music, like different types of music. So that's really where my inspiration comes from.
Moses Sumney, I'm not familiar with his background too much, but I love his music. He is someone who, in my opinion, kind of transcends or maybe broadens the definition of what masculinity and manhood looks like. And that's something that's always very interesting to me. People who are gender nonconforming in ways, wears dresses and skirts, makeup, kind of like Lil Nas X, like just completely changes the idea of what Black masculinity looks like. And I'm so into that. Like, I'm so into breaking those barriers and like, why do we need to limit ourselves? So like Moses Sumney and Audre Lorde are two people who are just incredibly inspiring because they embodied that otherness and they really embraced it. And seeing that has been really inspiring for me, especially in this phase that I'm at where I'm still really exploring my own identity. But it's so nice to have these kinds of examples because it empowers me and helps to make me feel comfortable in that journey as well.
And there's always tons of Black artists. I'm pretty sure some people say Skip James and, you know, Chuck Berry. Some people might say Michael Jackson, Janet, Peaches and Herb, maybe Teddy Pendergrass, and then just different generations of Black music. You got NWA, Jodeci. I do also love Public Enemy. Love the beats. I love everything about them. I love the bars. I like how they just go hard all the time.
Let's see. Now, leaders. I've done research on a lot of leaders. One would be Thurgood Marshall, which I don't really hear anybody mention. Like, because like basketball, you think of Michael Jordan. With law, it would be Thurgood Marshall. This man has interpreted the law like nobody else. And he spent time here in eastern Oklahoma getting people off cases. He would just take these cases to where it would be like, okay, so this white lady said she was raped by a group of Black dudes when that wasn't the case. Or this Black dude was like, said he had killed somebody, wasn't the case. He would not always get them off, but he would get them off of death row. So essentially he was kind of saving their life. But I think I would like, just kill me. But sitting in prison for like, but that, oh my goodness, no. But
I've always loved RuPaul and what RuPaul was able to do for Black people, because you know the I'm sure just growing up being different is tough. You know what I'm saying? And for RuPaul to still come out, or for RuPaul to become what she became is fantastic. Is one of those things that everybody should admire. You know what I mean? There was a lady named Grace Jones in the 90s who was Dennis Rodman before, because she would be butt naked in the public eye. You know what I mean? Just living her truth. So, and her brother was a preacher. You know what I mean? So I grew up watching these people on TV, and I just drew all kinds of inspiration from being, you know, from seeing people that were living their truth out loud. You know what I mean? And as an artist, you want to be able to live who you are regardless of what it is. You know what I'm saying? So it's not easy for everybody to live their truth. So if you're a little weird on the inside, man, it's good. Just be weird. You know what I'm saying? Everybody weird. So
locally, JB Williams, That's my dude, bro. I love him so much. I met him during the Julius Jones protests, and we spent a lot of time together. And that's kind of where we like started like the foundation of our friendship. And then I didn't even know who he was at the time. And then we started hanging out together more. And then I started to see all of the amazing things that he does for his community and for the people in his community, and it's just breathtaking. And he's just so kind to everybody, and he's so talented, and he genuinely wants to bring his city up, and you could just see that from just every different thing that he does. And so he's really inspiring to me. He also let me host a couple of his shows, which was so cool. He saw such potential in me, and just coming from like a guy of that caliber, you know what I mean? It really just like, it made me store a bit more hope into myself. So I shout out JB. I'm really appreciative for him.
Little Fred Hampton.
Yeah, he was in that movie, but there was also the other one, which I
Judas and the Black Messiah.
Yeah, that one.
I recommend it, and then so he was about black liberation or black empowerment, not liberation. But it's the same, but empowering yourself. And so what he did, he wasn't the only one who did this, but the Black Panthers, what they were doing is they were empowering all the people who were seen as less, in the socioeconomic less. So it was poor whites, Irish, just like, I'm just tossing in Mexicans. I don't think there were too many Mexicans in Chicago at the time, but I don't know. But he was just like gathering, it didn't matter what race you were, but he was bringing people together. It's like started a breakfast program before the United States government did. He was just feeding people. He's like, oh, you're having a hard time feeding your kids? We got you. It's like, it was just empowerment. So I was listening to his book, the book about, the assassination of Fred Hampton, and how it was the FBI and the Chicago PD actually set him up to be assassinated. There's a long list of shit like that. It's a long, fucked up list. And now that's why I'm listening to Miss Asada Shakur's book. But she's also in Cuba right now. She escaped prison and is living exiled in Cuba. Of course, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, everybody's gonna say it, but Malcolm X, for many reasons. One, because he was very, by any means necessary. Then he actually went to Mecca and he changed. And he was like, oh, we're all brothers and sisters on this planet. We need to come together. And it's like him and Martin Luther King started to switch points of view. Because at first, MLK was all peace and loving. And they kind of like started to cross path to see the other. And it's so to understand what it is what freedom is and what power is like, so once you know everything you need to know, you stop asking for them to do these things for you. It's like, which black folks in America still do, and Americans in general still do. You look to these phony ass politicians thinking they're gonna do something for you when it's known fucking well they won't. Something I listened to in a speech of Malcolm X, he's like, so the Democrats would always go, Dixie Democrats is what he was calling them, because that's what they were. They would go get the black vote. And then they had 61% of the House at the time. 61%. That's control. But they did nothing to empower black people. Nothing. Fucking nothing. So why the fuck would you vote for them?
Like you said, they're gonna tell you all kinds of stuff.
And to this day, I don't know what year that speech was in, but to this day, it's the same shit. It's the same fucking shit. And okay, I'm getting off to Black History for a second, but let me get back on it. So leaders, okay, so they're just different artists who inspire me, man. It's like, so I like artists that make me think. I might not ever remember their names, unfortunately, for some of them at this moment. But when it comes to hip hop, it's definitely like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole. Back in the day, I used to like storytellers because it's like, I say art tells a story, good art tells a story, no matter the medium. It tells a story and it lets people know where you're from and where you're going and what you plan on doing. That's how I feel. So any artist that conveys that perfectly, they've crossed my path at one point, and I've listened to them, and I'm like, okay, I fuck with this. I like this. This is gonna help propel me to do something different, or maybe alter, or just like maybe keep me on the same path.
Yeah.
But now I wish I had names.
Okay.
I wish I did, because it's like, I know one dude, black artist, just he inspires me. He's one of my friends. His name is Chris Iman Williams. He's a dope tattoo artist. He's more than just a tattoo artist. But his paintings are like, whenever he sinks his teeth into a painting, I'm like, dude, this is from somewhere else. It's like, you put a lot into this, and it's fucking beautiful if you ask me. But
it's great. Everybody so far that I've had the pleasure of working with has been great. There are situations where I know some doors have been shut in my face because of who I am, or you know, because there are just people out here that would rather not deal with black people, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Because there's plenty of other people that know how to show love in the right way. You know, so but it's been a blessing because I've been able to walk into some doors that not everybody can walk through. You know what I mean? There's some good places in Oklahoma City that cater to black people. You know, Ice Event Center is one of them. You know what I mean? So if I ever want to go get the smell of cocoa butter and see some beautiful people, I just take my ass to Ice Event Center. And then I can mingle with some other artists that share likeness, you know. So.
Yeah, so to be quite frank, I haven't really experienced obstacles based on either the color of my skin, and really not with my identity as a queer woman either. But I think that I can attribute that to a number of things. So for one, I stay in very inclusive art circles, which is really, really important to me. Being in a place where you can really trust the people that you're working with, or that you're sharing sharing art can be very vulnerable. But I also feel like just the art community in general, at least in my experience, of course, here in Oklahoma City, is just very, very accepting, and got really a lot of good people there. But I also didn't really make my art journey public maybe the past 6 years or so, and so I'm sure that there have been a lot of changes, positive changes in the art community as well. So I'm really, really thankful that it has been a good experience for me, because it can be really discouraging when, as an artist, you are not being acknowledged and you're not getting offered the same opportunities as maybe other people are. And so I'm really thankful for that. I fully believe that it's very different depending on where you are in Oklahoma, because Oklahoma City has such a large population of black people. So this is my place kind of thing. So I hope that other people are having good experiences as well.
I definitely grew up here. Oklahoma has a way of trying to segregate the community. And when it comes to art, you can see that by just looking at different events. When you go on Eventbrite, you'll scroll, and you have to really dig to see events where everything is merged, where I feel most comfortable, where all sides are being heard. Maybe that's growing up doing debate. I like to see both sides of it. So Oklahoma doesn't have a lot of spaces for that when I was growing up. When I became an artist doing comedy, I started doing comedy in Tulsa. And Tulsa is a melting pot. So it really showed me that going forward, we have a better chance here in Oklahoma of getting everyone heard and getting everybody a seat at the table, because that type of just seeing it for myself, seeing that it can be done without scratching and clawing and everybody gets a little piece of the cake, I can see it can be done everywhere around here if we just push towards the effort. So that's my Oklahoma story. You have to find the spaces that accept you, and if you have to build your own, it's kind of hard going for it, but when you do build your own, make sure it's a place everyone can be heard, so you don't have to fight that battle with the next generation, I guess.
Me personally, it's been good for me. I know sometimes Oklahoma gets a bad rap, which deservedly so, like a crazy government and superintendent and all that crazy stuff. So, like, a lot of times if I, go, out of state, and, people are like, where are you from? I'm like, Oklahoma. And they're like, oh, Oklahoma, and then, if I tell them, I'm in a band or anything like that, they're like, oh, a black guy in a rock band in Oklahoma? How's that treating you? But, I've never, in my experience, I've known you forever. We've been in the scene forever. So, I've never really experienced anything negative per se, at least not to me anyway. I always feel very welcomed, any shows I go to. Predominantly I've played mostly in the rock genre. So, I haven't felt any craziness or anything like that. I feel like, if they focus more on maybe the music scene, the art scene in Oklahoma rather than, the shitty politics all the time, I think it would maybe paint a different picture of Oklahoma, because I feel like our music and art community, it's getting more diverse, and, going to different shows and meeting different people, everybody's so supportive and so caring. We all go to each other's shows, and we all support each other. It's been good. I feel like it's growing, and I feel like it's still growing, especially back from when we first started to where we are now. There's more venues, there's more bands. I feel like there's probably more bands now than I can remember lately. But I feel like it's a good scene, it's a growing scene, it's improving. I feel like everything could always need improvement, but I can't say it's treating me bad at all. So I'm enjoying my time in it.
Growing up, I didn't really feel like a black artist, just because Oklahoma doesn't really have an expansive black population like Louisiana, Mississippi, Georgia, and Alabama does, or Florida. I was born in Florida, so I'm from there. It's just, I kind of felt like I was just with everyone else. Didn't feel very different or special because of my race. But now I can see that it's much different. I feel like it impacts how people see the music and art that I create. Oh, I make emo and indie pop. Well, shouldn't I be a rapper, or shouldn't I be an R&B artist, alternative R&B, or singing like The Weeknd or something like that. I feel like people have that implicit bias in the back of their mind that I should be making this music where there's black goths, black emos, we Meet Me at the Altar, one of the greatest bands I've ever seen, black alternative. So yeah, I definitely notice a difference now, but I just play the music that I want to play. I don't care if anyone thinks that it should be someone not black fronting the band. I'm not concerned about it.
Where do you want me to start? Okay, so so there's the different demographics, of course. When I first started doing comedy, that was kind of an awakening, because people weren't nice. They weren't nice, and the comedy scene has changed, but they weren't nice in the way I kind of grew up and the people I hung around. Not just as I'm a military brat, and so it's place to place, and some of the kids we like the Rough House and shit, and when I got into comedy here, people think they could say certain things. I'm like, oh, I could beat your ass, but you can't do that. It's not a good look, you know what I mean? So I quickly had to let me calm down. And so with comedy starting out black hair, I didn't like it. I fucking didn't like it. So I just I quickly once I stopped drinking, and I was able to really see it and observe, I was like, I'm just gonna stick to myself, sketch. And I still, like, I kind of maintain the habit. It's like, people have changed and they're like, they're not the same, but I just draw and wait till it's my turn to get on the mic. I don't like most comedians, and I know that's a weird statement. It's just, it's just like the ones I've met when I'm traveling, I'm like, oh shit, we can get along, because it's like, we talk about more than just the ha-has. It's like, if all somebody has to talk about is just ha-ha, it's like, no, there's more to life. But yeah, starting out comedy here in Oklahoma was not nice, especially like still like even to this time, like I had my heart broken like not too long ago, like via comedy. Is like, it's actually like a heartbreaking humanity, because it's like, yeah, I know history, and so I had a joke, and it was essentially the OG inhabitants of this country, the native, the like indigenous people. Indian, I don't know what the fuck they want to be called, but it's like I'm trying to be PC, but I don't fucking know. But it's like it had them being the aggressor and the victor, and it had the European immigrant being the victim. And it's a funny joke. One white dude laughed, and then afterwards another black comedian got up and he made a joke to where the black people look like a buffoon, and everybody laughed, and that just kind of, it was like, I was not okay for about a month after that. I'm like, first off, you see yourself this way, like to the other black dude, and then secondly is like, I know America's fucked up, but damn, dude.
So the thing, because I know like that I am light skinned, and a lot of people have this like this racist trait where they see me and they don't see me as they don't really see me as a person of color, but also they don't think that they have racist traits because they like me, if that makes sense, you know what I mean? Like, I think that, like, because I know about my light skin privilege, I do 100%, but like, I think, I just think that for me personally, I do, so like where I do shows at, and just like the different places, just like around the city, like, I think the thing that is the most awkward for me at times, or like where I really run into the problem, is when people don't realize, especially being a comic, people not realizing the racism in their jokes, rather it be towards black people, rather it be towards Mexican people, rather it be towards Asians, like they don't realize. And I think my biggest thing whenever because one thing about me, like, I will get on stage and I don't give a fuck, and I will call out every single person before me who said anything that was any type of crazy. Like, I'll do it. Like, I don't care. I've always been this way. I will always speak up for anything that I stand for. And so I think that's been kind of the biggest struggle while doing comedy, has been realizing that people genuinely don't understand that racism isn't funny. You know what I mean? Like, because it's one thing, I don't know, that's my biggest thing, and that's been what I've really had to come to terms with, and where I've really had to sit down with myself and be like, okay, this person hates women, so we're not working with them. This person hates people of color, so we're not working with them. And of course, a racist person is never going to stand up and say that they're racist, obviously. But I could tell by the way you talk about people, and I can tell by the jokes you make, that if you are that comfortable with standing on stage and saying that, I can only imagine what you say behind closed doors. And I think that's like the bit, like, I personally think there are so many different comics and around the city who should not be allowed to have a bike. I genuinely think that, because I don't know, I think that if you have to be racist, you're not funny. Like, yeah, I'll get on the stage, I'll crack a joke about a white person, I'll crack a little joke about my white mom, you know what I mean? Like, I'll crack a joke here and there, but the thing is that one, I am black, and two, I am creative enough to where I'm creative enough to where I can tap into the type of comedy where it's that slight, like, it's not offensive, it's just a little shock. And then I talk about how much I love my white mom, and then you pull back in, you know what I mean? Like, it's constantly having to find the balance. But like, if you are a white person and you're on the stage talking about Mexican people, about black people, about like that's just not funny. And if you think it's funny, you just need to do something else, babe. You need to do something else. Or like, if you go on stage talking about how you hate women, babe, you need to do something else. You know what I mean? So that's been the biggest thing, especially this last year. I've really dwindled out who I'm going to work with, even if like I'm casted with like XYZ other people for a show. And if I'm not a fan of one of those comics, I will not even have my face on a poster with them. You know what I mean? Because that's how set I am on I'm not with the shit. I'm not with that. Can I cuss on this? I've just been cussing. I've been cussing so much, but like, I'm just not with that. And I think that's, especially being in Oklahoma and doing Oklahoma comedy, that's been kind of like a thing that people are really lenient on, and I don't like that. So.
Yeah, man. This is an interesting question. Now with the art, people like my art. They've always like they've enjoyed it, and it just took a while for me to learn how to, like, oh, you want to buy this? I don't fucking know, dude. It's been decent. With the actual physical painting, like the painting, it's been okay. For a while, I was afraid to put, like, I'm a black artist on, like, my artist statements and shit like that when I submitted, because I didn't want that to be the reason why I got in. He's like, oh, just because he's black. And now it's like, so I was like, oh, just chilling out to submit just to see how it stacks up. But still, it just, some people just, like, some people, it's like, I don't like, I was like, there are people who's like, do you draw like this? Do you do this? Could you do this? I'm like, no, you can see my very distinct style. This is what I do. It's more of an African design. And people's like, it reminds me of Picasso. I'm like, well, do you know where he got his images from? It's like, do you know where Cubism actually has its birth roots from? From Congo. If you read, King Leopold's Ghost? It's about the exploits into Belgium, Congo, and how they saw the art there. And then they would bring it back, and then that's whenever Cubism in Europe, kind of like, in like other countries, and I was like, no, it's a Congolese art style. It's an African art style. So it's like, when people's like, I'm like Pablo Picasso, I'm like, no, you're like a Congolese artist, cool, or an African artist. So it's like, so I always correct people when they say that this reminds me of Picasso. I'm like, oh, you mean African? And they're like, oh, that tracks. I'm like, yeah, of course it does. No fucking history. It's important, because if you know the truth, or at least know something real about history, you won't be, I don't feel you'll be as lied to as easily.
I think a lot of times too, I stopped working with specific people because I felt that they wanted just like the one token person of color, like, on their set to say it's inclusive or to attract whatever kind of audience they do, and they want to attract. And that's why I've also pulled back a lot of I've pulled back on who I work with.
Now with photography, that's always been cool. It's like, I've not had any issues with that. I think my subject matter might piss some people off sometimes, because I like to show what's actually real. But it's like, you can't nerf the world.
Yeah. And
that's what people try to do. But overall, but you said being a black artist in Oklahoma, I left. So I said all that to say, yeah, I left. Because at one point I'm like, well, and somebody, like, I've heard multiple people say Oklahoma's greatest export is its artists. Because it's like, I guess it's something about being here. People wait till another place recognizes their talent before they jump on. And I was like, man, I really kind of sucks, but when I left here, it's like people out west, like some people's like, oh, this is nice. Can we do this with you? Can we do this with you? I'm like, oh, it was cool. It was really cool. And then it was just, why do you have to leave home for that to happen? Yeah. I mean, it's good that I left home because I learned so much more about myself and about the world. But
that's what makes a good comic is bringing in tough conversations, tough topics, and then still pulling in your audience and and making it a laughable lesson. You know what I mean? Yeah, but having that balance is hard. It is, but like if you don't have it, you either got it or you don't, babe. Work harder at it.
Most of the racist people that I have come across, we probably have more in common than we do with any of the politicians in our state, any of our state senators. You know, like we have the same fears. We are living check to check. If we lose our job, that's kind of it. We want good futures for ourselves. We want to be able to retire and have enough time to enjoy our retirement and good health and things like that. We have a lot of the same things in common. It's just, it's easy to play on old fears, I think.
Yeah, so it just became one of those things, is like, I don't know, I just learned to just kind of stay on my own path. I don't know, I think that's like almost any artist, not just a black artist, but I just know with black, I don't know, because I've not been anything else but black. Yeah.
To me, I think, just really taking the time to listen and, understand where, like, your friends and family are coming from. Like, kind of start there at home. And then, sometimes you got to have those uncomfortable conversations. I know a lot of times, sometimes your family might be stuck in, like, old ways and you don't want to, like, confront them. But, sometimes it takes those, like, uncomfortable conversations for change to happen. And so, just really take the time to, listen and, educate yourself on the issues and, don't be afraid to have those uncomfortable conversations, because in the long run, that's what's going to help progress, the community. I mean, even in your home and then out in the community. And, sometimes I think people sometimes get caught up in wanting to be like loud and big with their support, which is good too. But a lot of times, if you start small, work your way up, that could have a good impact as well. So that would be my 2 cents.
Yeah. So for me, it's about building community, building relationships with people. Personally, I do that in the art scene. Whenever I'm not in school, I am in the art scene way more. I have more time for it. But just having that, like, especially face-to-face is really important to me. Voting is important. I know that, unfortunately, voting does not always go the way that we want our votes to go. Oftentimes, I feel like I'm voting into the void, and it can be really frustrating. And so for me, it's about finding these little pockets of activism and happiness however I can. For myself personally, right now it's with my research. I'm seeking to uncover Black voices in history that people have not spoken about. They've essentially been silenced, made invisible. And it usually has to do with that intersectionality of being queer, being Black, anything that's kind of against the grain in society. So there are a lot of different ways, and it's not even necessarily marching in the streets. There are so many other ways outside of that too that people can contribute to Black society and Black rights. It might be with your art. That's a way to do it as well. It might, I don't know, it can look really different. I think it's so important to find something that makes you as a person happy, but also give back in some kind of a way. And it might be supporting, like I said before, supporting living artists is really important. But showing up is the most important part. It's getting out of the house. It's meeting people in your own community, because that like grassroots ground effort is so critical, and that's where you can really see your effort really make a difference in people's lives, because the world is so big that sometimes we can do things, you know, we can sign petitions online and things like that. Then sometimes it's really hard to see like our efforts come to fruition, and that can be really discouraging. And so for myself, it is that like meeting my neighbors, it's that community effort, because those are actual changes that we can like kind of see faster. And that's really important as far as staying motivated, because it can be hard to live in this world sometimes, especially right now in the state. It's hard to be someone who's Black. It's hard to be someone who's a woman. It's hard to be someone who is in the queer community in any way. It's hard to be trans. And if you are in like, you know, you hit multiple boxes of that, it just really adds to that challenge of being visible in the world and feeling like you matter. So it's a matter of finding people who are like you, people who are being otherized, and empowering each other is so very critical, because sometimes we are all we have. We're the only ones who really care about it. So I don't know, grassroots efforts, man, those are important.
Ooh, just be aware. Put down the I don't see color thing, because when you do that, you really miss a lot of who a person is. Like, especially someone like you run into me, I'm proud of this skin. Please don't dismiss it from me. I work good on it. I keep it good and moisturized. Notice it. So don't do the whole I don't see color. Be a part of it. Be aware of color. So then you can see, oh, okay, this might be an issue here. So advocate even in closed door spaces. When a person of color might not be in the room, you know, you might have to go ahead and pick up that mantle yourself to make sure that things that don't, if you feel they don't look right or sound right, they probably aren't right. So you can speak up. You don't have to speak up as a person of color. You can speak up as, hey, this just doesn't sit right. And when you get that little gut feeling, it's because you've been around enough people. You've engaged yourself with enough people, so you can speak on that. That is how you advocate. Advocate for yourself and for the people around you.
Talk to your local Black representatives. They will have more information about disadvantaged neighborhoods, redlining, low-income families around Oklahoma, especially those related to African-American households and all that. So try and contact them if you can. You can find that on your state's website. We've got ok.gov. You could probably find your representative that way. That'd be a good place to start.
Okay, yes. So my personal advice would be advocate honestly for, don't just stop at advocating for Black people. Like I want to advocate for everybody, and I think that's the big thing whenever you realize that like just being an advocate is more than just not being racist. Like you have to be anti-racist. Like you have to have the hard conversations with your families. You have to have the hard conversations with your partners. You have to have the hard conversations with your friends. Like it's not just wanting to be being pro-Black is being pro-Black, being pro-Mexican, being pro-Asian, being pro like disability rights, being pro like being just an ally for everybody, not wanting. Being an advocate is wanting equity throughout everyone and not seeing anybody above anybody else, because we are absolutely all the same. We are all the same. We all bleed the same. We're all gonna die. Like we are all the same. And that's my biggest thing, is that if you want to be an advocate, you have to let people know that we are all the same. We are all one, and we all deserve equal rights, and we all deserve equity. That's my biggest thing. Cause like, I don't know, it's a big thing whenever like, what I hate to hear is just like, oh, that's just how my dad is, or oh, that's just how they are, like they're set in their ways or whatever. And I'm like, okay, but like, have you tried? Like, have you tried to even have a conversation? Because the thing is that to me, whenever I feel somebody is like, oh, like they're just set in their ways, and I'm like, okay, but does that person know that you don't think like that? You know what I mean? Like, does that person know you're actually pro-black, like pro-Mexican, pro just people of color, pro-people? Do they know that? Like, I think it's not enough just to not be racist. You have to completely be anti-racist, and you have to, it's a hard thing to do, because old Ray was very much like, oh, if I think you're racist, like, fuck you, like literally fuck you. But now Ray is trying to be more open to conversation, because I think it's a bit, there's so much hate, and the only way to overcome it is to love. Like, I know that sounds so corny, but it's like, it's so true. Like, my kill 'em with kindness persona has like overtaken me in 2024. Like, it's just that's what I think. I think to advocate, yeah, that's how you got to do it. That's how you got to do it. You got to be open about it, and you got to be just enough, but like not too much, but like get it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Create a platform and go from there. Because if you're just online and you've only got so many followers, I don't have a ton of followers, so it's not like I can say what I want, but it's not going to reach anybody if I don't have some sort of foundation where people are going to listen. You know what I mean? Once I get a lot more listeners, then it'd be a whole lot easier to give my view on blackness. You know what I'm saying? And my blackness. You know what I mean? My side of it. But yes, to get a platform, because it's just easier to speak from a soapbox, you know what I mean, than to try to shout from in the hole that they keep us in. You know what I'm saying? You're shouting from in the hole up. Ain't nobody listening to that. You know what I'm saying? So get a platform, get a solid foundation to your platform, and then start talking your shit.
What advice? I don't have advice. I got information. It's like, I would just say, learn about the shit that you're avoiding learning about this country, and what crimes were actually perpetrated against people who look like me. Not the like, oh, the people were enslaved, but after that, and actually learn about what happened during enslavement. Like like the breeding plantation, shit of that nature. How some of these people would eat black people. Yeah, and like, yeah, dude, it's fucking wild. It's like we're having a nigger barbecue, and it's real. Yeah, it's real. They would roast them. They would roast a human and eat them. Yeah. It's fucking wild. Learn that, and then the next time you say, oh, you're still upset, it's like, dude, what the fuck, man? You ate people who look like me. And then beyond that, whenever black folks started to like build their own, because when the statement, whenever a system fails, you just build your own. Whenever any time tried to build our own, or it was destroyed. It was fucking destroyed. Not just Tulsa, not even Greenwood. Rosewood in Florida. That's a fucked up movie. I watched that when I was like this high. And I'm glad my parents had me watch it. Because I just seared. And then like there was all these like these black towns thriving, that they're like, well, we're just gonna put a lake here now. So all these black towns are underwater. And the railroading, redlining. It's just, and then I would like for you to ask yourself this question: why do all this to a particular group of people? Why? Why? Just ask yourself that question. Is like, why the fuck are you going through all these efforts? It's like you said black people couldn't read. You're not allowed to read or write. We'll kill you if you do that. And then it's just, why? So I guess to answer your question, ask why would you deny a group of people basic living rights and deny them the fact that there were even beings, like living beings on this earth?
Yeah, talk to your families. Start there. Literally start there. Like, and that's not the easiest, like, accessibility wise, that's the easiest place to start. I know those are probably the hardest conversations to have, but like, I don't know. Cause I'm a hard-headed, that's what I'll say. I'm a hard-headed girl. I am so hard-headed. So like, but if we don't see eye to eye on things that should completely be like out the question, like if you don't believe in oppression, if you think that because somebody is disabled that you are better than them, if you, like, you know what I mean, that is just, that's completely off the table for me. Like, I will try to have the conversations. I will do my best to open your mind, and if not, I just can't talk to you anymore. I just can't. I literally can't. It'll keep me up at night if I am still cool with you at the end of the day, because that's just not okay. It's not okay. It goes against everything I believe in, and I'll be damned if I lose sleep over this. You know what I mean?
Because it's like, it's okay, so it's kind of like what's happening in Africa right now. It's like, this is the analogy I'm going to try to give. So Africa is coming together. Like, there's like, because there was all these laws put in place by Europe to separate them. And like, if you have a passport in one country, you're not allowed to go to another African country before you go to Europe first. Yeah. Did you not know that? Yeah, it's fucking control. Because we don't want you talking to a person who looks like you right next door. So they're starting to say, fuck you, and just communicate amongst each other and realize, oh, we have all the resources over here. You're stripping all our resources, so fuck you. And so they are placing their coups. This is where the CIA coups come up. And this is going to correlate back to what you asked me. So it's like they're trying to fuck up the shit or just make sure they could still get something out of it to where they can come out on top. Instead of trying to come out on top, maybe just say, hey, what needs to change to make shit better for you, and actually listen to what people are saying versus thinking you know what's best. I think that's it, because it's like it's whenever you think you know what's best for, like, okay, so despite me being born in America, I am very African, and there are things that are just like, American shit doesn't make sense sometimes, or maybe it's European shit doesn't make sense because it's like it's different cultures, and like some things are just done differently. May get a different outcome, better outcome, same outcome, but don't try to dictate how it should be done. I think that's a big issue with a lot of Europeans.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to call Americans, because it's like, you got to speak about what the fuck you are. It's like, it's a bunch of Europeans acting like this has always been theirs. Same thing with Australia. So it's just, you had a different culture, and there was a culture where people were living off the land and not fucking up the world. Now people are not living off the land and the world is fucked up. So when when some people have to say is like, oh, you're a savage. It's like, so who's really a savage? Like, I'm not. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, what? So I don't know really how to answer that question without challenging people to challenge themselves. But people like to be comfortable because, like, you go up to Deep Edmond, it's like there's nothing but people that look like they belong at Deep Edmond. It's like they don't even like outsider white people.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're not one of us type of whites. It's like so I'm sure if you went to where do all the presidents live, like in Martha's Vineyard or something like that, is like they're like, yeah, if you don't eat babies, we don't want you. I'm kidding, don't put that. I'm not kidding, but it's just, oh shit, it becomes one of those things. It's just people need to challenge themselves to, like, it's like get rid of this superiority complex and really look at yourself as a being and, like, think about it, because at the end of the day, we're all going to the same place. And I don't know what it is anybody believes in, but it seems like all these people who believe in God, especially in Oklahoma, and they act the way they act, I'm like, that's not very Christ-like of you. That's not very godly of you.
My favorite thing about Oklahoma is my community. And I say that very intentionally because there are a lot of Oklahomans who are not my community, and they are the ones who make the state not great, in my opinion. But like what Brandon said, when you look at it from that inside perspective and you are being heard and you're being seen and you're being validated, those things make it worth doing it again and not like just up and leaving the state to try to find something better, because you can go to another state and still not be happy and still deal with the same things. You might be in the wrong community, you might be in the wrong city or something. Just because we're a red state, it doesn't mean that every day is going to suck for us. Thank God. But it's tough though. It is tough though. Like, I mean, just right now, when it comes to the education system, it's really, really disheartening.
I would just like for people to know what really happened, because then from that, people will see what they need to do themselves, because I can't tell somebody what to do. I cannot. I mean, buy my art, but
yeah, well, like,
that's only if you really feel it in your soul. Buy the art, but go support what you feel needs to be supported. I don't fucking know, man. Right now, I support like a complete overhaul of what this country is. Complete overhaul, and that sounds like a French Revolution, but.
I think I don't disagree for sure.
But that takes people coming together of all races and creeds, which is, it's very doable.
Yeah.
It's doable because we all, at the end of the day, just want to take care of our families. I think take care of our families and, like, be happy. That I feel that. Leave something better for the kids, for the future, but yeah, man, and I that's what I feel. It's like the whole camping shit. Leave it better than you found it, or at least pick up after yourself. It seems like somewhere along the way that got.
Being an advocate, and especially just, I don't know, during like during this month, I think it's very important that we still shine a light on places that are also going through such a hard time right now. So, like, being pro-Black is also being, like, pro-Palestine. Being pro-Black is being pro-Congo. Like, we need to keep talking about that and keep talking about what's happening, keep donating to GoFundMes, and still, just like I said, having those hard conversations that we need to have. Needed to add that in there.
But I mean, so like the Black Panthers used to like drive around and like in groups, and like whenever a cop pulled over a black person, they pull over too to observe it. And I'm like, shit like that needs to happen so nothing else happens. Like, if like, cause whenever I was in Los Angeles, at one point, I was just like, I'm gonna drive around South Central to see how many liquor stores I can see. Just taking photos of them. I stopped taking photos. There were so many. It was sad. And then I started noticing like different types of undercover cops. And I'm like, and there were a lot of white cops. I'm like, why are this many white cops in this area? It's like, if you don't know the neighborhood, don't fucking patrol there, because it's like, you don't know the mannerisms of people. That's another thing. It's like, so different culturally. It's like, Black people are very expressive. I hate generalizing. It's like different cultures are very expressive. Speak with your hands, voices get louder. It's like something about Europeans. They like to like take the soul out of everything. You need to speak like this. It's like, don't celebrate after a touchdown. It's like you know what I mean? It's just it's like, what the fuck, dude? It's like, you try doing this, you would be happy too. It's like, it's okay to show joy. It's okay to show emotion. It's okay to like, it lets people know you're alive. And it's just like, so whenever you're talking, it's like, you may not be upset. You just may be a very expressive person. And then if you're not from that neighborhood or that culture and you're a cop and you're just like, well, I felt threatened. Yeah, that's one way how it happens. The other way is like, they just shoot them and say, oh, this is how it happened. So
That is a big thing.
I've had run-ins with some police officers who actually like initiated like physical contact with me. And I was leaving a Thunder game with my friend Jimmy. He's a Asian fellow. He's half Japanese, half, what is he? Anyway, Asian fellow. And we were leaving the Thunder game, and like there was a group, and I'm like, there was a group walking on the, and then I'm gonna shut the fuck up. But there was a group, like, you know how you're walking under the tunnels and it kind of bunches up? And they had the roads blocked. And I'm like, yo, so I'm just gonna avoid this and walk in the street. So I was walking in the street, and then like this cop rode by on his bike, and I knew the minute he saw me, I'm like, he's about to fuck with me. And he's like, everybody on the sidewalk, everybody on the sidewalk. So I kind of scooted over closer, and then he came back by, and then he grabbed me. There was no need for that. So it was like, that guy right there should not be a police officer. He should not ever have power. If he has kids, I feel bad for them, because who knows what they're going through. Yeah. Everything I want to say is not okay, but if I should have said, hey, meet me in a boxing gym. There needs to be that type of thing, to where it's like, if oh, what's your badge number? I'm gonna report you. Or you could just meet me in this boxing gym and leave your badge, and like bring a cop from another precinct to come make sure, like, or something. It's like, I don't know what that solves. Maybe that's just straight the ego thing in the moment. But
I mean, I don't know.
There needs to be something to bridge. But then again, all the way shit as police comes from top down. So everybody down here could be saying, hey, this needs to change. But as long as the people with the money who talk to the mayor, who talks to the police commissioner, and then nothing's gonna change. So it's all back on the individual.